is Histories and Mysteries, and I'm one of your hosts, Ashley, and your other host is...
Jessica. Woohoo! This week, Ashley's going to be talking about the Michelle Carter case, and I will be talking about Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, I'm so excited. I don't know much about them. Like, I know that they were a duo of criminal, but... a duo of criminal. That's not a thing. But that's all I know about them.
A criminal duo.
Yeah. A duo
I
of
swear we're
criminal.
smart.
I don't know. I'm starting to question my intelligence.
Oh my goodness. I think we have good reasons.
Okay, so I got
gracious.
most of this story from a documentary by 48 Hours called Death by Text. It was pretty good. And then my ever trusty Wikipedia, NBC News, and Women's Health by an article by Emily Schiffer. So I'm going to jump right in. Conrad Roy, for the most part, was a regular American teen. He did well in school, he did well in sports, he was accepted to Fitchburg State University. He even obtained his captain's license so that he could be the captain of, I think they said he obtained his license in tugboats, and that's what his dad had as well. On the outside, he was every parent's dream, but inside there was deep, dark emotional scars. Unfortunately, at the age of 17, after his parents' divorce, he overdosed on Tylenol. Yeah, he tried to commit suicide, and he took the Tylenol after his mom left for work, but then he got scared, and he reached out to a friend to get help, and she called his mom, and his mom got home, and they got to him in time.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. He was rushed to the hospital, where he said he promised he would never do that again. They immediately got him help, so they did the right thing. They didn't just, ignore it, you know? They got him help, and it looked like he was doing better. He was telling that same friend that, he started going to parties and hanging out with friends again, and just generally seeming like he was emotionally doing much better. He was being treated for social anxiety and depression, and he was put on some medication for it. The documentary that I watched showed videos of him talking. He kind of made this video diary shortly before his death. And it's really sad. He was talking about, he's got a great family, a great mom, and he just couldn't understand why he was depressed. Which is, yeah, it's really sad. And I think a lot of people feel that way. Like, I don't have anything to be sad about. Why am I depressed? But, you can't look at depression that way. It's a physical, in your brain, there's a chemical imbalance, that it's like having cancer, like, I'm very loved, why do I have cancer? Like, that doesn't make sense. And you can't, it's the same way with depression. Like, you can't, it's just an illness that you have.
Yeah, but honestly, with depression, that's the mindset that we're put into, right? Because everybody's like,
Yeah.
you have such a good life. Why would you ever be depressed? Like, what need do you have to be depressed? And
Yeah, mental illness is, especially in America, I mean, it's one of the hot topics right now because of all the mass shootings that we have, but it's just not viewed how it should be. I mean, it's obviously leaps and bounds better than it was, like in the 50s and 60s and stuff, but people just don't look at mental illness as an illness. And a lot of people, I've heard many, many times people say, like, oh, I'll just get through it. I can just get through it. I don't need help. Like, I can just get through it. And it's like, well, would you say that about cancer? Would you say, like, I just will get through it? Like, we really have to start looking at it in a different way.
yeah, and it's so hard, right? Because it is hard to talk about because of that stigma that's out there
Yeah,
about mental
for
health.
sure.
And you're like, well, I don't want to burden everybody else because then they probably won't like me anymore. Because a lot of the times, if you do talk to people about your mental health and the struggles that you're going through, they don't have time for you and they don't want to talk to you. And it's really unfortunate. And I've even lost friendships over it because people just didn't want to bother with it, right? They're like, oh, you're too negative for me. And it's like, I literally just need somebody to talk to. And I thought that you could be that person.
Yeah, and unfortunately, especially with kids his age, they don't bounce back from that very well. You know, they're not able to brush that off and be like, "Well, that was just a shitty person." You know, they
Yeah, because
internalize
he
it.
was in his teens,
Yeah, he
right?
was 17.
Yeah, so, like, that is a really prominent age, right?
Mhm.
Like, between, like, 14 to 18 kinda thing, and
Yeah.
so it's really sad because there are people out there that do wanna help
Yeah.
you, and it's hard to find them sometimes, and thankfully, like, my support system is a lot better now than it was
Good.
before, but it's just if you don't have that, then it is really hard, right? And you don't think that there's
Yeah,
anybody that you can turn to, but there
for
are the
sure.
helplines, which are really good, and,
Mhm.
like, there's online therapy now too, so
Yeah, so sometimes you don't even have to leave the comfort of your own house, you know, especially during COVID time, you can still get therapy. I have a friend that she has virtual therapy every week, you know, she struggles with anxiety, severe anxiety, and it really helps her even though she's not leaving the house, like, it helps her to talk to someone.
yeah, like, I think it's called, Talkspace, right?
Yeah, there is one called Talkspace, yeah, and there I mean, like, there's insurances now that are covering several different ones, you know?
Yeah.
So, there's definitely people out there to help you, and I saw this, kind of meme once this it's not really a meme, but like a picture, a quote, I guess it's a quote that said, you know, "When you commit suicide, you're not getting rid of the pain, you're just transferring the pain to someone else."
Yeah.
And it's so true, you know, like, people are going to miss you, they're going to grieve you, they're not gonna understand why you took your own life, and it's something that they're going to struggle with for the rest of theirs. And,
Yeah.
you know, not that you should do anything for other people, but I do think it's something, you know, that you people should take into consideration, you know, that there are people that love you and there are people that are going to miss you. And even if it's like someone you don't even think of, you know, someone is going to miss you.
Yeah, and if you, like, see somebody that's like, if you notice a difference in them than their normal attitude, like, maybe try and reach out,
Yeah.
see if there's anything you can do, even if they just wanna talk and you can just sit there and listen, like,
Mhm.
sometimes they don't need advice because they get that advice from either a therapist or online and whatever, right? So,
Mhm.
sometimes people just need you to listen and
I guarantee you're going to feel a lot better if you take, you know, an hour out of your day to listen to someone than going to their funeral. Like,
exactly.
yeah. Whew,
So,
that got deep. So,
anyways, sorry, everybody. We
I want
clearly have some opinions.
well, I think, suicide or suicide attempts and depression has touched both of our lives in some kind of way, so
Yeah.
I think that we have some strong opinions on that.
Yeah, and we just want everybody to feel better and feel loved and
Be
welcome, and
happy and
if
healthy
anybody
and
if anybody is struggling, reach out to us. We're here to listen, we're here to
for sure.
talk, so
I mean, I have my undergrad in psychology, so I'm basically like a therapist. No, I'm just kidding.
and I just really like psychology, so and I've gone through a lot of therapy programs myself, so
Well,
I
there you
have a
go.
lot of different opinions on the matter and a lot of advice, so
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Alright, so on one vacation in Florida, he met a girl named Michelle Carter who would forever change his life.
Boo.
Surprisingly enough, they met in Florida, like I said, but they both lived in Massachusetts about 35 miles from each other.
Weird.
Yeah. So once they got back from vacation, they continued to talk and text, but they really rarely saw each other despite living relatively close. Um, and it was said that Michelle considered Conrad her boyfriend, but he did not consider her his girlfriend, which I don't know where they got that from. I don't know if he would say the same thing. I'm not sure if it was like the family saying like, "Oh, that was his girlfriend," because of what you'll see happens. Like, I wouldn't want to think that either. So I'm not really sure how that is, but people said that he didn't consider her a girlfriend. But they talked all the time. They texted all the time. Um, and Michelle had also struggled with several mental illnesses, and so I think that's kind of what they bonded over. She had an eating disorder since the age of 8 or 9. She cut herself.
Oh,
Yeah, she was on psychiatric medication from the age of 14 and also attended regular counseling sessions. But again, on the outside, she was a pretty not popular, but liked girl in school. She played sports, she was voted class clown and most likely to brighten your day. So she had a pretty good, positive reputation. Um, and I want to state that I'm not saying that's surprising because she had a mental illness. It's surprising because what she's going to do.
Yeah,
um,
no kidding.
yeah. So if you haven't heard this story, I'm just gonna say it right now. Conrad does commit suicide. Um, and the day of his death, he went to the beach with his sisters, and then they went to get ice cream, and they said that he seemed fine. They did see him texting someone, and we'll come to find out he was texting Michelle. And then later that day, around 6 p.m., he told his mom that he was heading to a friend's. She said, "Would you be home from dinner for dinner?" He said, "I don't think so." And that was the last thing he ever said to her.
Aw.
Yeah. Um, Conrad never came home that night. His mom, she said she texted him once around like 10:30 before she went to bed. He didn't respond. She woke up in the middle of the night, texted him again, didn't respond. But surprisingly, and we'll come back to that, we'll kind of circle around to this. That night, in the middle of the night, his sister received a text from Michelle saying, "Hey Camden, do you know where your brother is?" Um, and they didn't say if she responded to her or not, but Michelle Carter knew damn well where he was, and we'll circle back to this comment. But
What a weirdo.
yeah. Um, that morning, obviously Conrad still wasn't home, and his friends and family started to search for him. Unfortunately, police did find his body later that day in his truck. He had used a generator to pump carbon monoxide gas into his truck and inhaled it until he passed away.
Oh,
Once the news of Conrad's death spread, Michelle texted Conrad's mother saying that she was so very sorry and how much Conrad meant to her. And his sister said that it was either his sister or a friend said that at the funeral, Michelle was like kind of sitting by the family and just sobbing and kind of acting like,
what a crazy bitch.
no, yeah. She even held a fundraiser for him in his memory a few weeks later. At first, his death was ruled a suicide until police looked through his phone. For a week, Michelle and Conrad were texting about him committing suicide, and Michelle was encouraging the thoughts up until the very end. She was. Investigators started looking into the case as a homicide rather than a suicide once they saw these texts.
So, I have a question. I don't
Yes.
know if you know the answer to it or not, but usually in a suicide, they wouldn't look at at the victim's phone.
Hmm.
So do you know why they decided to look at his phone?
I'm not sure, they didn't say. I think part of the reason was because it was laying right out next to his body. And so
Okay.
it was like right there. And so they could just kind of open it up and look through it.
Okay.
Um, but I'm not really sure why they decided to look at it.
Okay. No worries. I just thought I would ask. Like I've never
Yeah.
heard the
Yeah.
answer anywhere, so
Yeah. Um, so they actually confronted Michelle knowing, damn well that she had spoken to him that day and asked, they said, "Hey, did you talk to Conrad that day at all?" And she said no.
oh.
First lie. After looking through both phones, because they obtained Michelle's phone after that, um, they found a text from Michelle to one of her friends named Samantha. And Michelle said, "He just called me. I heard moaning like someone was in pain and he wouldn't answer when I said his name. I think he just killed himself."
Oh my gosh.
So, also, they found a text message from Michelle to Conrad probably like 20 minutes after she had talked to him last before he committed suicide. And it said, "Did you delete all those messages?" So the cops were like, "What messages?" So they looked through um all of the deleted messages. They were able to pull those up because kids, you delete something, it's never truly deleted.
Yep.
So they pulled all that up and whoo, did they find some interesting stuff. Um Another message from Michelle to her friend Sam said, Sam, his death is my fault. Like, honestly, I could have stopped him. I was on the phone with him. He got out of the car because it was working and he was starting to feel pain and get scared. And I told him to fucking get back in the car.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't make any sense to me why she would ask him to delete all the text messages and then go ahead and send all these messages to her friend.
Well, I think part of it was that she was young and dumb and didn't think that the police would look at her phone.
That makes sense, yeah.
Especially because he committed suicide. So like you said, she probably didn't even think that they would look at his phone. But in case they did, delete those messages and, they'll
Yeah.
never look at her phone.
That's very true, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I were to do something like that, then I would make sure I was deleting all of my messages in relation to anything.
For sure. For sure. But like I said, she was young and dumb. So after the police found this message, about her saying, get back in the fucking car, they decided to actually charge Michelle with involuntary manslaughter.
Good.
Yeah, and on advice of her attorneys, she waived her right to a jury trial because they knew that the prosecution was going to use the text messages in court and they thought a jury would think her evil when they heard the text messages. So they
Well,
figured they'd have a judge do it,
she is evil.
right? Some weird evidence. Up until about a month before Conrad killed himself, Michelle was really supportive of him and was trying to get him not to commit suicide and even wanted to take him to a therapist. Then, about 11 days before he committed suicide, something changed and she started to encourage it. Um,
Oh,
yeah, she even started to send him suggestions on how to do it.
no.
Yeah, she's like, "If you hang yourself, it's relatively painless if you do it right," was one of her things.
Oh my goodness. What a little psychopath.
Yeah, and then 10 days before he died, she was talking about his family and said, "Yeah, they'll probably blame themselves for a while, but they'll get over it and learn to accept it."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and his mom was in this documentary, and she's like, "How dare she say that? Like, I will never get over my son's death."
Yeah.
Um, So let's dig into Michelle's life a little bit more because this is where the prosecution kind of takes their case. Um, there was a group of girls that Michelle desperately wanted to be friends with and who she wanted to impress. I think they kind of saw her as kind of a friend, but kind of like one of those friends where it's like, we should probably invite her, but like, she's kind of weird type of thing.
Yeah.
But just days before Conrad died, she told these girls that Conrad went missing to get attention.
Oh.
Yeah, so, like, he was fine, and she was just like, "Oh my gosh, my boyfriend went missing, nobody can find him." So, she clearly just wanted attention and wanted to be that kind of spotlight center. Um, and so prosecutors claim that she wanted him dead to, 1, gain more sympathy, and 2, not to be exposed as a liar. Like, if he died, she can be like, "Yeah, he was missing and they found his body," you know?
Yeah.
So her defense attorneys brought in a psychiatrist named Peter Bragan who wasn't treating her. I just don't understand how you can bring in witnesses that are like psychiatrists and psychologists that talk about the mental state of a person when they don't treat them. But they did.
So they
And
didn't do an assessment on her prior?
I think they did, but for some reason they called in this random guy, probably because of what he's going to say is that he argued that she was involuntarily intoxicated due to an antidepressant she started taking 3 months earlier.
Oh.
He said she was not forming criminal intent, but in her delusions thought it was a good idea to help him.
Hmm.
Um, but prosecutors argued that she wasn't trying to help him because she didn't tell them what had happened at first. She didn't say anything. She just, let them think it was a suicide. And she let his body sit in the car for 24 hours. So if she really thought she was doing the right thing by helping him, she would have come forward, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But the doctor said she was delusional. She wasn't thinking straight. She wasn't in her right mind. Um, After Conrad's death, Michelle continued to text him almost 80 more times, though. She's telling him that she misses him, she loves him, and sometimes she even apologized that she didn't save him. So, while I don't think she was delusional, I do think she had a screw loose.
No, for sure. You can't do something like this and not be a little off.
Yeah, yeah. And so they interviewed another doctor on 48 Hours. He didn't get interviewed in court. They just interviewed him for the documentary. And he said that one, he's never heard of involuntary intoxication when it comes to like when it comes to, mental illness medicine. Like, yeah, if someone date rapes you or, if you're having an allergic reaction, like that's involuntary intoxication. But he also said that she was just on an SSRI, and SSRIs do not make you delusional or psychotic. They're relatively safe for most of the population. I'm on an SSRI, and I haven't tried to get anybody to kill themselves, so
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, not everybody that's on an antidepressant tries to kill
right,
anybody.
right, and obviously, like, when it comes to medicine for mental health, everybody's body reacts different. Everybody reacts different to medicine. That's why there's so many different kinds and so many different doses to find the right kind for you. However, Um, SSRIs do not make you delusional or psychotic. So that was just kind of a Hail Mary, I think, that the defense was trying to have. Um, she also texts Sam, her friend, Michelle texts Sam, her friend, about a week after Conrad's death, saying they have to go through his phone and see if anyone encouraged him to do it on text and stuff. They read my messages with him. I'm done. His family will hate me and I could go to jail. Which again proves that she knew what she was doing and she was in her right mind.
Well, exactly. That's the thing, right? And she knows that she did something wrong because she's scared to have it come forward.
Right, right. So you can't even claim like incompetent to fit trial because she knows right from wrong. But the psychiatrist that they interviewed for 48 hours did make a point to say that, if he wasn't suicidal already, she couldn't have convinced him to do it. But she didn't help in the matter, right?
No, for sure. Like, there are a lot of people out there that are suicidal, but then most of them thankfully back out of it because
Yeah.
they get scared or whatever, right? So,
Mhm.
you don't have to be suicidal to commit suicide.
Right.
Like, in his case, he was literally convinced to do so.
Right. Well, and are you ready for probably one of the most creepiest facts of this case?
Go for it.
Did you ever watch Glee?
Yes.
Okay. You know how is it Corey Monteith?
Yes.
Monteith. You know how he dies in real life, so they write
Yes.
his death into the show.
Yeah.
And Rachel, his girlfriend on the show and in real life, but on the show, one of the things said when she was talking to the teacher was, "I had it all planned out happily ever after. I didn't have to tell him. He knew. He was my person." Okay? So that's a
Mhm.
line from the show Glee. This is a text from Michelle to her friend after Conrad's death. "I had it all planned out. He knew too. I didn't have to tell him. He was my person."
Ew.
Yeah. So prosecutors say that, she watched Glee, saw this kind of glorification of death and what the attention that Rachel got and wanted that for herself. And even used a line straight from the show.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, um, some okay, so I have some of the texts from the day he died, and I'm just gonna read them to you. Um, I might skip around a bit because it's kind of long, but
Okay, go for it. I'm all ears.
all right. So Michelle, Conrad, hey, you there? Conrad, hey, sorry, I fell asleep. Michelle, it's okay. Why haven't you done it yet, though? Conrad, I'm too messed up to. Michelle, what are you talking about? Conrad, my head. Michelle, you can't think about it. You just have to do it. You said you were going to do it, and I don't get why you aren't. Conrad, I don't get it either. I don't know. Michelle, so I guess you aren't gonna do it then? All that for nothing? I'm just confused, like, you were so ready and determined. Conrad, I'm gonna eventually. I really don't know what I'm waiting for, but I have everything lined up. Michelle, no, you're not, Conrad. Last night was it. You keep pushing it off and you say you'll do it, but you never do. It's always gonna be that way if you don't take action. You're just making it harder on yourself by pushing it off. You just have to do it. Do you wanna do it now? Conrad, it's too late. I don't know. It's already light outside. I'm gonna go back to sleep. Love you. I'll text you tomorrow. Michelle, no, it's probably the best time now because everyone's sleeping. Just go somewhere in your truck. No one's really out right now because it's an awkward time. If you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. And you can say you'll do it tomorrow, but you probably won't. Love you. Conrad, love you. Michelle, for what? Are you awake? Conrad, yes. Michelle, are you going to do it today? Conrad, yes. Michelle, like in the daytime? Conrad, should I? Michelle, yes, it's less suspicious. You won't think about it as much and you'll get it over with instead of waiting until the night. Conrad, yeah, then I will. Like where? Like I could go into any enclosed area. Michelle, go in your truck and drive into a sparkling lot somewhere to park or something. Do it now, like early. Conrad, didn't we say this was suspicious? Michelle, no, I think night is more suspicious. A kid sitting in his car, just turn on the radio and do it. It won't be suspicious and it won't take long. Conrad, all right, I'm taking Holly for a walk. Michelle, okay. Conrad, I don't know why I'm like this. Michelle, sometimes things happen and we never have the answers why. Conrad, like, why am I so hesitant lately? Like 2 weeks ago, I was willing to try everything. And now I'm worse, really bad, and I'm not following through. It's eating me inside. Michelle, you're so hesitant because you keep overthinking it and pushing it off. You just need to do it, Conrad. The more you push it off, the more it will eat at you. You're ready and prepared. All you have to do is turn the generator on and you'll be free and happy. No more pushing it off, no more waiting. Conrad, you're right. Michelle, if you want it as bad as you say you do, it's time to do it today. Conrad, yep, no more waiting. Michelle, okay, I'm serious. Like, you can't even wait till tonight. You have to do it when you get back from your walk. Conrad, thank you. Michelle, for what? Conrad, still being here. Michelle, I would never leave you. You're the love of my life, my boyfriend, my heart. I'd never leave you. Conrad, aw. Michelle, I love you. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to just skip forward.
This is so creepy and gross.
I know. Um, so then he talks about, she asks when he's going to do it. And he says, probably in like 5 minutes. He's overthinking it. He's freaking out again. Michelle says, I thought you wanted to do this. The time is right and you're ready. You just need to do it. You can't keep living this way. You just need to do it like you did last time and not think about it and just do it, babe. You can't keep doing this every day. Conrad, I do want to, like, but I'm freaking out for my family, I guess. I don't know. Michelle, Conrad, I told you I'll take care of them. Everyone will take care of them to make sure they won't be alone and people will help them get through it. We talked about this. They will be okay and accept it. People who commit suicide don't think this much and they just do it. Conrad, I know. LOL. Thinking just drives me more crazy. Michelle, exactly. You just need to do it, Conrad, or I'm going to get you help. You can't keep doing this every day. Conrad, okay, I'm going to do it today. Michelle, do you promise? Conrad, I promise, babe. I have to now. Michelle, like
Oh,
right now. Conrad, where do I go? Michelle, you can't break a promise. And just go in a quiet parking lot or something.
I
Conrad,
hate
okay.
this.
I know it's awful.
Oh, and I just like, I hate the part where she's like, do it or I'll get you help. And it's like, get him help. Why are
Yeah.
you pushing him to do this?
Yeah. So then he's just like, where should I go? And she's like, go to a place you won't get caught. And she says, not finding a place to go is an excuse. And then this is where he goes to the beach. And so she's like, well, why are you going to the beach? And he's like, my mom's making me go, but I'll do it afterwards. And then he says, I'm in the worst pain right now. Like, it's unbearable. And she said, I think it's time to do it then. Do you agree? Conrad, please answer me. He said, I'm still at the beach. And she said, oh, okay, sorry. Let me know when you're leaving. So then a little bit later, he talks about how he's determined now, that, they're talking about how he's going to do it, the generator and breathing in the carbon monoxide. And should I keep it in the back, stay the front? So they're just talking out details, and she's right there helping him. And
Yeah.
then, yeah. And then let me skip down to the end here. All right, so the last messages between each other. Conrad, I know I'm overthinking it. I've been overthinking it for a while. Michelle, I know you just have to do it like you said. Are you going to do it now? Conrad, I haven't left yet. Haha. Michelle, why? Conrad, leave in now. Michelle, okay, you can do this. Conrad, okay, I'm almost there. Michelle, okay. Please answer me. I'm scared. Are you okay? I love you. Please answer. You're at your dad's. Camden told me. I'll get you help soon, I guess. I thought you actually did it. So his last text message to her is, okay, I'm almost there. And she says,
Aw.
okay. So those last text messages from her, the please answer me, I'm scared, are you okay? You're at your dad's. I thought you actually did it. She knew he was dead because he called her and she heard him
Yeah.
die. And that was her way of making an alibi for herself of
Yeah.
like, hey, are you there? Are you there? But he did call her and they talked. The phone call length was 46 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So she said she listened to him on the phone dying for 20 minutes.
That's
Because,
insane.
yeah, that's when he called her because he got out of the car because he was scared. And she said, get back in the fucking car and then listen to him die.
That is horrendous.
And like, okay, even if you're an absolute idiot and trying and doing all this texting, the moment you sit there and listen to someone die, especially someone that you supposedly love, that's a whole nother level.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, it's not even as though you assisted them. You literally listened to it happen
Yeah.
and did absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah. Like, I volunteered in the hospital a lot when I was in college because I wanted to be a doctor for a long time. And I worked on the surgery ward, and there was this old lady that was in the process of passing away. And like, I got in my car and cried just seeing that, let alone listening to someone die that I loved, like,
Yeah, for sure. No, that would be so hard.
yeah. So here's my question to you, Jessica.
Okay.
So obviously she did a lot of coaxing,
Yep.
but he was the one that actually killed himself.
Okay.
Legally, how do you feel? Is she responsible or not?
Oh, she's 100% responsible because he did the logical thing and was like, no, 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 I'm scared. I can't do this. And he had so many regrets, I guess. And he, like she said, he kept pushing it because he wasn't actually ready to do it. And then she pressured him into doing it. Like,
Yes.
I understand, like, he obviously has some part in it because he did go through with it, but I think
Mhm.
it's because his mental health was so deteriorated and her pushing him just like, when you're in that mental state,
Mhm.
like anything anybody says to you is the truth, essentially, right? So
Mhm.
I think she 100% is responsible for his death and she should be punished.
So the judge actually agrees with you. He went on for about 15 minutes and said that Conrad did act in his own death, but just like you, he focused on when he got out of the car. So he said this whole time, Conrad was acting as his own catalyst. Like he
Yeah.
was doing this. And the moment he got out of the car and said he was scared, and she told him to get the fuck back in the car, is the moment that it became her responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and he said, Carter caused a dangerous environment, and under Massachusetts law, she had a duty to save him. Call someone, tell him to get out of the truck, etc. He also didn't buy the involuntary intoxication defense, which I don't think anybody did, but as a defense attorney, like, where are you going to go with this case,
Yeah, they
right?
just have to pull anything out of their butt at that point.
Yeah. And so he found Michelle guilty of involuntary manslaughter, which is what she was charged of as.
Good.
So she was charged, so obviously when this event took place, she was a minor, but by the time it went to trial, she was like 20, I think. But
Perfect.
since she was a minor when it happened, she got to remain out on bail until her sentencing.
Awesome.
She faced up to 20 years. What do you think is a good sentence for this?
I think anybody that assists in death or causes someone's death should be in death. I mean, should be in jail for life.
Okay, this is gonna make you real mad then.
Because she probably got out really early.
She was sentenced to 2.5 years,
What?
reduced to 15 months plus 5 years probation, and she was released 3 months early for good behavior. So she spent a total of 1 year in jail.
What? What?
Yeah. So she's out now. She's out and
That
about
makes
living her life.
that makes me absolutely furious.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, okay, so I look at things like Dr. Kevorkian, right? So he helped with assisted suicide for people who were sick and dying.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I'm okay with it, but I kind of am. You know, like if you're dying of cancer and there's no hope and you're in so much pain, I mean, we do it for our animals, right? Like if my dog has cancer and he's in pain, you know, I put him down. But in this case, you know, he was a healthy, you know what, aside from he was physically a healthy boy that she helped commit suicide. So I know a lot of people compare this case to like Kevorkian, but also Kevorkian I think got a lot more time than she did. And he was like helping people. But one good thing that did come from this was that Massachusetts passed a law called Conrad's Law, which would make automatically a crime punishable up to 5 years for intentionally coercing or encouraging a suicide or suicide attempt. And they are currently trying to get it passed as a federal law.
That makes me mad because she didn't even get that amount of time.
Right. Yep, 1 year. And so you figure 1 year, I think she was like 20 when she went to trial. So she was probably out by the time she was like 21, 22, depending on, you know, birthday when it lands. She's got her whole life ahead of her.
Yeah.
And she looks exactly like, I'm going to say her name wrong. Chloe, nope. Yeah. Chloe Delavine. I can't say her name.
Oh, Carla Delevingne.
Yeah, Cara Delevingne. She looks exactly like her, I think.
She does. She looks less attractive than her. She has her
Yeah,
eyebrows.
for sure. For
She has
sure.
her
She definitely has
eyebrows.
like her eyebrows and I think some of like her facial features and stuff like that. Not when she was in high school. Her
Yeah.
high school pictures look completely different than her trial pictures, but
Yeah, she definitely does not look that great. But I also hate her as a person, so.
right? Yeah. So that's the story of Conrad Roy and his suicide.
Woohoo! I mean, not woohoo, but like, good job on the story.
Thanks. I also wanted to put out there, like last week when I did the domestic violence, or not last week, 2 weeks ago, when I did the domestic violence hotline, I want to put out the suicide hotline.
Perfect.
So the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24 hours, and it is 1-800-273-8255. And you can actually, if you Google it, you can chat with them too. So if you don't want to call, you can chat.
Good.
Yeah.
I like that. Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's lighten this up a bit and talk about Bonnie and Clyde.
Okay. So today I'm going to be talking about Bonnie and Clyde. I find them really interesting, as I'm sure most people do. I was able to find some really cool facts out about them, which I thought were really fascinating.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like I said earlier, like I don't really know much about them, except for they were a duo of crime, as I like to say.
Did you watch that movie, The Highwaymen, on Netflix? It was Woody Harrelson and some other guy.
I don't think so.
Okay, it was really good. It was recently released on Netflix, like last year or earlier this year. It was a really good movie.
Was it about them?
It was about the two people that caught them. So they were kind of in the background more so. And the movie
Gotcha.
focused on the two Texas Rangers that found them and eventually killed them. Spoiler alert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my sources were history.com, Smithsonian Magazine, history.com again, biography.com a couple times, There was an allpoetry.com reference. All that's interesting, yet again, of course.
You
The
love them.
I love them. They're so good. The FBI website and texasranger.org.
There's a texasranger.org.
Sure is.
I love it.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about Bonnie first. So she was born Bonnie Elizabeth Parker on October 1st, 1910, in Rowena, Texas. She had an older brother and a younger sister. When she was just 4, her father died, and her mother had to move her and her siblings to an impoverished part of Texas to live with their grandparents. Bonnie was a wonderful student and found interest in the arts and poetry. She also earned honors at school. She even wrote poetry and wrote a poem about her and Clyde's eventual demise when she was older in years, not when she was a young kid. The last two stanzas go, they don't think they're too smart or desperate. They know that the law always wins. They've been shot at before, but they do not ignore that death is the wages of sin. Someday they'll go down together, they'll bury them side by side. To few it'll be grief, to the law a relief, but it's death for Bonnie and Clyde.
That's so dark.
Yeah, and so accurate. And just the fact that she knew that that's how she was going to die is just kind of sad.
Yeah, for sure.
So, in her youth, she had dreams of becoming an actress. So, did you ever see or listen to the Broadway show Bonnie and Clyde?
No, I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, there is. It's actually pretty good. I've only listened to some of the songs from the soundtrack from Spotify, but it's pretty good. Really good songs, and it's just very fascinating.
Oh, okay.
So recommend.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. So when you think of Bonnie and Clyde, you think that like they were married, right?
I guess I never really thought if they were married or if they were just like boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah. So upon Bonnie's demise, she was actually married, but she wasn't married to Clyde.
Slut.
In her youth, she had like in high school, she became involved with a classmate and his name is Roy Thornton. Days before her 16th birthday, the two of them got married.
Before her 16th birthday, so she was 15.
Yeah.
What year was this?
She was born in 1910, so
I feel like that's
1926.
still really young for the 20s.
It is, yeah. Unfortunately, Roy was very physically abusive towards her.
Oh,
And
that's sad.
yeah, and in 1929, 3 years after their wedding, Thornton was sentenced to 5 years in prison for robbery, and then the two never saw each other ever again, and they never got divorced.
They just never got divorced.
Yeah, never got divorced. And when she was killed in 1934, she still had a tattoo on her inner thigh representing her previous love with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that
Well, I
was
mean, I guess
pretty
back then they didn't really
interesting.
have like tattoo removal.
Yeah, but it was just kind of crazy, right? Like just the whirlwind, and it kind of
Yeah, for sure.
foreshadows her future with Clyde. So, um, now I'm going to give some history background on Clyde. He was born Clyde Barrow in March of 1909 in Talico, Texas. He was the fifth of 7 children. Their family farm decidedly failed due to a drought, and they eventually moved to Dallas, Texas. This is a strange fact that I never knew about, and it just seems kind of odd based off of what we know about them. But apparently, Clyde had dreams of becoming a musician, and he learned to play both the guitar and saxophone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's just
I
very
can see
weird.
guitar because like I feel like a lot of people can like pick up the guitar. I mean, whether or not they play it well, but
Mhm.
saxophone, like
Yeah, that's the one that I
that's
found very weird. Like impressive weird.
yeah, I agree.
Um He lived under the influence of his older brother, whose name was Buck, and he entered into a life of crime at a very early age, starting with petty theft, then stealing cars, and finally armed robbery. By the age of 20, Clyde was a fugitive and wanted for several robberies he had committed. His first arrest was okay, this is really funny. When you think of Clyde Barrow, what would you think his first arrest would be for?
Robbery.
So, me
I
too,
just feel like
but
everybody
no.
starts off with robbery.
Yeah, this is just the most bizarre thing 'cause I never would have thought of it, but his first arrest was from not returning a rental car in 1926. Uh,
Clyde, come on.
yeah. 3 weeks later, he was arrested alongside his older brother, Buck, for possession of a tr truckload of stolen turkeys.
What? Were they alive turkeys?
I am assuming because it was just a truckload of stolen turkeys, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
It's just the funniest thing ever.
It's just like the stupidest crime.
Yeah,
I'm looking up a picture of him because I've always pictured him really cute.
he's not bad.
Yeah, he's not bad. Bonnie's cute.
Yeah, she was really cute,
Mhm. Sorry. Okay.
considering. So, the Navy also rejected Clyde due to, um due to effects from a boyhood illness,
Oh,
which was a devastating blow to him.
yeah. Well, especially like back then, if you were kind of poor already, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for you.
Yeah, exactly, and he really wanted to join the Navy and prove himself, but then he was rejected, which, like, okay. So but, I mean, I guess he kinda proved them wrong considering everything that he did, but
Yeah.
I wonder if he wasn't rejected, like, what would have happened, you know?
Yeah, what his life would have been like.
Yeah, like, if he still would have done these crimes or if it would have been enough to say, "Okay, this is better," like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so now I'm gonna give a little backstory on 2 of the rangers that caught the duo.
Okay.
So, the most famous is a Texas Ranger named Francis Frank Hamer. He was born in March of 1884 in Wilson County, Texas. The family moved to Oxford, Texas in 1894. After finishing the 6th grade, he started spending more time with nature, which helped his future career, and he started comparing people to animals. So he used to study animal behavior when he was out in nature. And so that allowed him to kind of relate the animal behavior to people behavior. So,
Okay, so when you said he was comparing people to animals, I was like, "Oh, he's a serial killer." But that makes
yeah.
sense, the animal behavior. Okay.
Yeah. So he was basically just like, oh, like they're as sly as a fox, or
Gotcha.
just based off of different patterns, right? Behavior. So,
Okay.
he worked at his father's blacksmith's shop and then became a wrangler on a ranch.
Ooh.
In 1905, he helped to capture a horse thief, and the sheriff in the area was so impressed by his skills that he recommended Hamer to the Texas Rangers.
Ah, okay.
In 1906, he joined the Rangers, patrolling the border in South Texas.
Did you hear the squeaky?
I did.
Sorry, my dog has a toy and she's squeaking it outside the door.
So cute.
Sorry.
2 years later, in 1908, Hamer resigned and became city marshal of Navasota, Texas. Is that how you say it?
I've never heard of it, so your guess is as good as mine.
All right. He served in this position for 3 years before becoming a special officer.
Hmm,
He rejoined the Rangers in 1915, 4 years since resigning from his city marshal position, where he entered back into the position of patrolling the south border. In this ranger position, they ran into arms smugglers, bootleggers, and bandits.
ooh.
In 1921, 6 years since rejoining the Rangers, he moved to their headquarters and became senior ranger captain. So basically, this guy moved up in the ranks really quickly and he was super awesome.
I really like how old-timey this is, like, he ran into bootleggers and,
Yeah.
like, it's so
And
old-timey, I
bandits.
love it, yeah.
Well, your episode last week was talking about pirates, so
True.
yeah. So we're just bringing everybody back.
I love it.
Yeah. Uh, in the 1920s, his strong moral compass was well known and especially when he challenged the Texas Bankers Association for a bounty system that encouraged the killing of bank robbers. So
Oh,
I think what that means is that he was against the bounty, like the kill bounty on bank robbers, and he wanted to diminish that, I guess. Or
okay.
abolish it, that's my word. So he did that, which was really cool because I mean,
Yeah.
not every bank robber deserves to just die.
Hi. Right, yeah.
So he also defended African American suspects from lynch mobs, which is pretty awesome.
Mhm.
After a successful career, Hamer retired in 1932, retaining a special ranger commission. During the 1930s, he worked for many oil companies and shippers, helping to prevent strikes and break up the mobs.
Oh, okay.
In 1948, he accompanied Coke Stevenson to investigate suspicions of voter fraud by Lyndon B. Johnson's operatives. He officially retired in 1949 and lived in Austin, Texas until his death by a heart attack in July of 1955.
Okay. So he lived a pretty good life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was a badass too. Like, I love him.
Yeah. What was his name?
Frank Hamer.
We'll see if he's
It's
hot.
it's spelled Hamer.
Ooh,
He's not bad.
he's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think he
Oh,
was
yeah.
played by Kevin Costner in the movie.
I think he's more handsome than Kevin Costner.
Yes.
Like, in his younger days, not, like, in his older days,
Yes.
but in his younger days, like,
I think
he
it
was
was
a
Kevin
looker.
Costner.
Oh, he's so cute. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson.
Gotcha.
So Kevin Costner played Frank Hamer in the movie The Highwaymen, and Woody Harrelson played Ben Manny Galt, who was born June 21st, 1990. Not 1996. Jeepers Murphy. Where in the world? Um, I'm assuming that's 1896. I'm gonna go with 1896.
So I just Googled him because I just wanted to see what he looked like, and it says 1886.
Well, I don't know why I wrote 1996.
He died in 1947, so maybe you just put the two together.
Maybe.
He's
Well,
not as cute.
no, he's not. Uh, so yeah, he was born in Travis County, Texas, in whatever year you just told me. His career started in a furniture manufacturing plant.
Hmm.
He was a neighbor of Hamer's, and as such, he became involved in undercover operations until he officially joined the Rangers in 1929.
Ooh.
He was honest, reliable, quiet, and was capable of handling himself in tough situations. Galt and Hamer became best friends, and Galt eventually aided in the tracking and murder of Bonnie and Clyde. And
Hmm.
then he died in December of 1947.
Gotcha.
Oh, sorry, repositioning my body. So now I'm going to get to our criminal duo, Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. I can't remember
Our
what
duo
crimes
of
they committed
criminals.
at all, so I'm excited.
Yeah, so I learned a lot through this, so that was fun. They met through a mutual friend in January of 1930. They had a budding romance at this time, and it was unfortunately interrupted when Clyde was located and arrested and then
Hmm.
convicted of many criminal charges.
Oh. So
Both,
was Bonnie a criminal before she met Clyde?
no,
Oh, so he corrupted her.
yes.
Okay.
Both of them were in love, and they both yearned for one another, so Bonnie decided that she was going to smuggle a gun into the prison for Clyde.
Oh,
Yeah,
Bonnie.
yes. On March 11th, 1930, so just 2 months after they had first met, Clyde used the smuggled gun to escape the prison with some of his cellmates. However, they were captured just a short week later, where Clyde was then sentenced to 14 years of hard labor.
Ooh. I feel like Bonnie and Clyde are obviously extremely famous. Like we all have heard of
Mhm.
Bonnie and Clyde, right? But it doesn't sound like Clyde was a very good criminal. He kept getting caught.
Well, at the beginning he did,
Okay.
and then it took a while for him to
Gotcha.
finally get
Okay.
caught again. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think Bonnie helped out a lot because women rock.
Of course.
In 1932, due to not wanting to undergo this length of time of hard labor and to cease the sexual assaults against him, Clyde chopped off 2 of his toes while serving his time here, which resulted in a permanent limp.
Oh my god, Clyde.
He hoped that injuring himself like that would, he was hoping it would get him transferred
Gotcha. Like he wouldn't be
to,
able to do the work anymore.
exactly, so he'd be transferred to a not so laborious prison and he wouldn't be forced to do all of this hard work.
Or they just be like, do it with a limp, bitch.
Exactly. So this self-mutilation was unnecessary because he was released on parole 6 days later.
Oh my
His
gosh.
mother had convinced the judge to grant him parole. And
Oh, Clyde.
due to this self-mutilation, it permanently caused issues. Obviously, he had a permanent limp and he couldn't drive with his shoes on anymore. So he had to drive in his socks.
I feel like we're watching like one of those old timey like bumbling criminal movies.
Yeah. Yes. So it was at this time when he was released on parole that him and Bonnie were finally reunited.
Aw.
Yes. So I didn't know this, actually, but apparently Clyde tried to go straight for a while and worked at a glass company.
And it took really well. I see.
Well, it's complicated because there was, the police were harassing him,
Oh.
which ultimately cost him his job because the police
Okay.
harassment was so bad.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it was partly their fault.
Yeah,
I mean,
sounds
I
like it.
also feel like eventually he probably would have been bored and
Yeah. But they
continued to
probably
do
kind of sped that process right on along.
it. Exactly, yeah. Um, it was at this time that he decided to form a gang, the Barrow Gang,
Ooh.
and he went on a spree of robberies of banks and small businesses. And bank robberies were not what they were typically known for, as is common knowledge, or at least what is my knowledge. They actually robbed mostly gas stations and grocery stores, earning only about $5 to $10 their time, which is about $72 to $77 our time. Yeah. So,
So not really worth the trouble.
no, not really. Especially not worth their ending. So,
Yeah.
their crime spree spanned across 5 states, including Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, New Mexico, and Louisiana.
Oh wow.
It was once said by Clyde's sister that the Barrow Gang wielded a screwdriver more than a gun because they used it to change license plate and evade identification on the cars that they stole.
Oh, okay.
Clyde drove and Bonnie navigated. Bonnie joined Clyde and his gang a couple of months into their spree. She, however, was arrested and put in jail for 2 months, but she wasn't convicted. As she stated, she was kidnapped by the Barrow Gang and thus she was released from custody.
Gosh.
Yeah.
How old was she at this point now?
No. She probably wasn't young. She was probably like So how old was she when she died? She was 23 when she died.
Oh, okay.
They died in like 1934, so
Okay.
she was
Wow,
probably like
that's
21,
so much
22.
younger than I thought they were when they died.
Yeah, so she was probably 21.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So during the spree, Clyde unfortunately killed a police officer and a
Ooh,
store owner, which
ooh,
made him a very much wanted man. Clyde did.
yeah,
Yeah.
ooh.
Yeah. Due to this, the two of them decided that they wanted to keep a low profile, so they hid out at Buck's brother's house. However, neighbors grew suspicious of their presence and police arrived, wherein a shootout occurred, leaving
Oh,
two dead officers and a roll of pictures Bonnie and Clyde had taken.
oh, wow.
Yeah. These photos were then distributed and developed and distributed across the wires. A former speaker for the House of Representatives stated, quote, "Even if you did not approve of them, you still would have to envy them a little to be so good looking and rich and happy," unquote.
But they weren't really rich.
No, but they were living this lifestyle that people kind of envied at that point. Like they were just
Gotcha.
so romanticized, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, these two lovers and they're,
I mean, they're still romanticized, you know?
yes, exactly. So they essentially became folk heroes due to a depression weary public, despite all the bad things that they had done. So I guess, yeah, at this point, like the depression was happening too.
Yeah.
So they must have had more money than other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is also coupled by the fact that Bonnie was a notorious criminal and a woman.
Oh, man. Not a woman.
So
These
she was,
things again.
well, she was basically like idolized, right? Like she was this badass woman committing these like crimes that are typically performed by a man.
Mhm.
So she was romanticized in that sense.
Gotcha.
By 1933, so a year before their death, the gang was wanted for these various crimes. So, like robbery, killing people.
Yeah, that's kind of a no-no.
Yeah. In April of 1933, Bonnie was severely injured in a car crash and she walked with a limp for the rest of her life.
Oh.
Clyde was driving too fast to see a detour sign and ran through the barricade at 70 miles per hour.
Holy crap, Clyde.
Yeah. The car went flying into a dry riverbed and scalding acid poured from the battery onto
Oh
Bonnie's leg.
my gosh.
It even went down to the bone in some spots.
Oh, that poor thing.
Yeah. She had difficulty walking and at times she needed to hop or have someone carry her.
So, Clyde had a limp from self-mutilation.
Yeah.
Bonnie had a limp from an accident that Clyde caused.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The gang were then pursued across many states, and eventually FBI and Texas Ranger Frank Hamer were involved in capturing these fugitives.
Ah, my boy Frank.
Yeah. Ano- Another shootout occurred in July of 1933 when they were caught up to again. And this time, Clyde's brother Buck was shot, and
Oh.
his wife surrendered. I think her name was Blanche.
So were they part of the gang? His brother and the wife?
Um, I don't I don't know if they were a part of the gang, but I do know that like they helped them hide out a lot and
Okay.
spent a lot of time with them, but I'm not entirely sure to what degree they were involved.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Um so his wife Blanche surrendered to the police. Buck was shot and Buck died from his injuries and Blanche
Oh.
was sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Oh. Clyde is just like destroying everybody's life one by one.
Yes. In January 1934, Clyde broke out his former accomplice Henry Methvin, who soon after joined Clyde's gang. During the breakout, a prison guard was killed.
Clyde!
Yeah. 2 years after retirement, Hamer was hired by the Texas prison system as a special investigator to hunt down and bring an end to the notorious gang run by Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker after Clyde broke into this prison. So after he broke into this prison, killed the guard, broke his friend out, they're like, okay, this is enough. We need to like get some extra help on this.
Yeah, for sure.
And Hamer was a badass. So they're like, we need our Frank Hamer.
Yeah, it was.
Hamer was given full reign on how to deal with the duo.
Oh.
So, with Henry Methvin by Clyde's side, The two of them killed 2 highway patrolmen in April of 1934, and Henry Methvin killed another man, a constable,
Oh my
just days
gosh.
later. Yeah.
I didn't realize how much murdering they did. Like, I honestly thought most of their crimes were like robberies. I didn't realize they did so much killing too.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either, so it's very interesting to find that out because it puts,
Yeah.
like, a whole different perspective on them.
Yeah, 100%.
And I read a story somewhere, I just never included it in my notes, but so I don't know how accurately I'm going to get it out, but essentially they a farmer saw the two of them on the road. They had stopped a vehicle and he saw Bonnie shoot someone point blank with a shotgun in the face and then heard her like laughing and then heard her say something like just crazy pants. But it basically just went,
Holy crap.
yeah, but it basically just like goes to show that like she was just as cold.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think that, like, obviously you can be kind of persuaded to do things you wouldn't necessarily do without that person, but you have to have that, like, willingness to
yeah.
do it in the
Well,
first
it's that
place.
adrenaline rush, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. I liked. I don't like that story, but it does definitely put it in perspective that, like, Bonnie was just as bad as
Yeah,
Clyde.
exactly. And it wasn't just him like telling her to do these things, right? Like she full on went on her
She
own.
enjoyed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
she laughed
Yeah.
afterwards.
Right.
So Henry Methvin, Bonnie, and Clyde sought refuge at Henry Methvin's father's home in Louisiana. In the meantime, Hamer was learning everything he could about his targets and tracked their pattern through Texas, Louisiana, and Missouri. He also had contacts within the FBI and law enforcement through the different regions, which assisted him along the way. Thankfully, Galt was by his side, and together they focused on Henry Methvin, who is known to visit his family, which, as we heard a couple of minutes ago, was exactly what happened. sought, sought some refuge at his father's house. So, Methvin's father, Ivy, however, betrayed the duo in order to gain amnesty for his son's crimes with Hamer. And
Oh.
I'm also sure at this point that Hamer's reputation preceded him and no one wanted to cross him.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see
Yeah.
that.
On May 23rd, 1934, 3 months after Hamer's search for the duo, Ivy Methvin was parked on the side of the road next to his broken down truck. Bonnie and
Mm.
Clyde were.
Um, for those of you that can't see Jessica, which is everyone, she did air quotations for broken down
I
car.
thought my voice insinuated it. So it was also at this point that Bonnie and Clyde were driving down that same road in a stolen vehicle
Oh,
and
okay.
noticed him on the side of the road. Unbeknownst to them, Hamer and his posse of 6 men were situated off of the road and out of sight. When Bonnie and Clyde stopped to assist Ivy, the posse opened fire on the duo, killing them in a hail of bullets and eventually glory.
Oh,
A fact I did not know was that the plan was to take the duo alive.
okay.
However, that all changed when a logger truck also appeared driving up the road, which confused a deputy who then opened fire.
Oh, okay.
As Bonnie and Clyde reached for their weapons, a hailstorm of bullets rained down on them. So the
Oh,
officers were like, crap, they're picking up their weapons. If they pick up their weapons, we're done for. So we need to get to them
yeah.
first.
Yeah. I mean, look, the last shootout ended up with 2 dead police officers, so
Exactly.
I don't want that to happen
It
again.
is said, so this gets a little graphic. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It is said that Clyde was shot in the head and killed instantly. And one of the officers,
Better than he deserved.
well, I would have liked for him to suffer, but.
That's what I said, better than he
Oh,
deserved.
I thought you said what he deserved.
Oh, no, better than he
Yes.
deserved.
And one of the officers stated that he heard Bonnie screaming when she noticed that he was dead.
That's kinda sad.
Yeah. The posse deposited about 130 rounds, each of them had more than 50 bullet holes in them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Bonnie was 23 and Clyde was 24 at the time of their deaths.
Wow.
At the time of their deaths, it was believed that the Barrow Gang was responsible for 13 deaths, including 9 police officers. After they were confirmed deceased, they were paraded through town, both still sitting in their respective seats in what is now donned the death car.
Ew.
So, the duo were so famous at this point that gawkers they were like clawing at this vehicle, trying to get a peek at their bodies. And
People were freaks back then.
yeah,
Like, and a lot of the podcasts that I listened to, they would like take
yeah.
souvenirs from places.
So,
Like if a guy got like hanged, they would take like a piece of the bark from the tree or
yeah.
something.
So, these people were so intense that they were trying to cut pieces of their body off.
Oh my gosh, I thought you were going to say car.
No, so I think somebody tried cutting Clyde's ear off or one of his fingers, something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
What are you going to do with that?
And so I think one of them was trying to cut off the trigger finger of one of them. They were trying to cut hair, just like get pieces of their clothing. Like they were trying to just get anything that they could.
What, like, okay, you get the trigger finger. What do? Put it in like one of those baseball containers?
Yeah.
Like, what? Come
I
on,
know they
people.
just wanted souvenirs because these people were so famous, so well known, and they were just so like idolized, right?
Goodness.
So, despite wanting to be buried or buried side by side, the two were separated and buried in different cemeteries, the bodies being returned to Dallas.
That's kind of
Yeah.
sad. Like one last little ugh to
Yeah.
them.
Like, F you. Ironically, I love this point. A man that was once kidnapped by the duo and then set free was an undertaker and performed their autopsy.
Oh gosh.
Mhm. And Bonnie even joked when they were talking to him that it would be funny if he performed their autopsy.
Oh, seems like she was a little bit of a future
Yeah, like a
seer.
clairvoyant or some crap.
Yeah, thank you. That's the word. Future seer.
We don't speak English here.
Oh my gosh. You guys, I swear I'm not an idiot.
No, we're very tired. We've been up for a long time. It was said that there were so many bullet holes in each of them that it was difficult embalming them as the embalming fluid kept running out of them as quickly as it was being put in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know that sometimes, and I don't know if this is true, but I saw this. I didn't fact check it, but they put contacts in dead people's eyes with like little like spikes on them to keep the eyelids down.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I did read that.
That's cool if it is true.
Mm-hmm.
An estimated amount of 10,000 people attended the funeral home where Clyde's body was laid out.
Oh, wow.
And then Bonnie's mother estimated that twice as many attended her daughter's funeral. And I think
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think there were a lot of girls that were like trying to dress like her, look like her, like have their hair done like her. Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
The death car, as it was deemed, was paraded around nationwide for years after their death. It was a popular tourist attraction and it was shown at fairs, amusement parks, and flea markets for almost 40 years.
Ew.
Yeah, so it was still like riddled in bullet holes. It had like the blood soaked seats. Yeah.
People were freaks back then, man.
People were freaks. I mean, granted, it would be really cool to see. And it is in a museum. It's not, sorry, it's in a casino right now.
It's at a casino?
It's on display at a casino.
What casino? I'm assuming one in
check.
Texas.
Ironically, it's not. I don't think. Oh, yeah. It is in Nevada. Oh, yeah, it's in Nevada. I'm like, that's not Texas.
Oh, so is it in Las Vegas?
It's in Whiskey Pete's Hotel and Casino in Prim, Nevada.
So not even in Las Vegas.
No.
Okay.
It's so weird. Frank Hamer, our lovely Frank, hated the attention he was getting over killing the famed duo and refused to attend the Hamer Galt Hero Day and repeatedly turned down offers to share his story and investigation methods with the media. Galtz was also very similar in his approach. He also hated the attention that came with it. All in all, Clyde was romanticized for being a rebellious gangster, and Bonnie was often thought as his innocent girlfriend who chased him around for love and getting caught up in the dangerous lifestyle.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought before you did this story.
Yeah, so, but she wasn't very innocent
No, and he
after all.
wasn't just like a bumbling little gangster.
No, he was a very notorious criminal who
Yeah.
was just completely messed.
Yeah.
So that is my story on Bonnie and Clyde.
I loved it. I learned so much new information that I did not know.
I know, it was so fascinating. I was like, I am loving researching this because I'm learning so many new things.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys liked that episode, which I hope you did, you can follow us on Facebook. It is Histories ampersand Mysteries. We also have an Instagram. It is History and spelled out Mysteries. And then if you want to send us an email about any cool stories you have, any episode suggestions, anything you want, you can send it to histories and spelled out mysteries 515 at gmail.com. We take suggestions. If you have a cool story, we'll read it out loud, like a personal story, just anything. You can message us, whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I also want to take this time to thank our Ashley because she does so much work editing these podcasts.
Oh.
And it is so, I'm so grateful because I wouldn't even know where to start. And I'm just really happy that she is more than willing to do it.
That's so nice
Usually
of
on
you.
her Saturday. So
Oh, thanks.
you're welcome. I appreciate you. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will be returning next week with a new story.
Yay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.